We have lots to discuss here in today's video, all kinds of NHL trade talk. We're on a handful of teams tonight. We're looking at teams in the Vancouver Canucks. Could we see Elias Pettersson with the Canucks beyond the current season? There's some that think they might need to find a way to get out of this contract. We'll discuss what insider Frank Zaravalli had to say about Pettersson here recently. Plus, we also have some trade talk around the Calgary Flames, Boston Bruins, which could also both be linked to players the Canucks might be looking at. Plus, the youngster in Columbus, Yegor Chinakhov, getting lots of attention from a variety of teams, including the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll discuss how that might play out. More news from the NHL waiver wire. We have a signing with the New York Rangers. Lots of injury updates as well, including some significant returns and updates. Plus, Brendan Shanahan's making his way back to the NHL. What is his new role, and could he be with another team soon? We'll discuss all that and more coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. We'll kick things off first with news from the NHL waiver wire. We had 3 players on waivers yesterday, and I'm a little bit surprised, but none of them were claimed. Goaltender Phoenix Copley, Gatcom from the Islanders, and Agazino, all 3 players cleared. So I thought maybe Phoenix Copley, with the goaltending issues around the league, there's a few teams kind of have some question marks, but he was not picked up. So he's been reassigned to the Kings AHL affiliate, which is where he hoped, well, they all had hoped within that organization, probably himself included, that he would land in the first place, and he's finally there. Now, new on waivers today, we have Washington Capitals forward Sheldon Rempel. There is some talk that if he's not picked up, they might look at even potentially doing unconditional waivers to terminate the contract. I know there was a lot of chatter around training camp, according to Sammy Silver, who covers the Capitals, that if Rempel didn't have a chance to get on the team early in the year, that he may look for other opportunities, maybe look overseas or something. So we'll see what the future holds for Rempel if he clears waivers, whether or not he stays in the organization or moves on. The New York Rangers signed another prospect today, and this one's another big, tall guy, 6'7" forward prospect, Nathan Aspinall, who gets his 3-year ELC, was drafted last year, 2024, in the 5th round. Plays for the OHL's Flint Firebirds. So another massive dude to put on the forward group potentially down the road if he develops well enough. But 6'7" forward signs his contract. Certainly an interesting prospect to keep your eyes on. As I mentioned, all kinds of updates around injuries and roster recalls. New York Islanders forward Max Shabanoff missed tonight's game. Islanders won big against the Red Wings. He's out tonight with an upper body injury. Alexander Romanov, also officially on IR. He's missed a few games already, but he's now officially retroactively on injured reserve. The Nashville Predators today have recalled forward Matthew Wood. The Maple Leafs recalled defenseman Dakota Mermis due to the fact that we did get confirmation Chris Tanev is going to IR and was going to miss some time. They also added goaltender Joseph Woll to long-term injured reserve. Really not a lot of concern that way. It doesn't mean that he's going to be out with the Leafs longer. We don't really know how long he's going to be, but it doesn't mean he's looking at, significant more time. He might be, he may not be, because they can retroactively place that to the beginning of the season when he took his leave from the team. So it'll be that long before he'd be eligible to return if he makes a comeback. But even if he gets back to the team, considering the time he's been away, he's going to need time to skate and practice and all that, probably even do a conditioning stint maybe before he actually gets into game action. So we don't really know what's going on with him. As we said yesterday, Craig Berube was asked but didn't really provide anything, didn't really have any information. So we'll see what happens with him. But on long-term injured reserve to help their cap situation. The Ottawa Senators today switched their goalies again from the backup spot. Levi Merilainen, who was sent to AHL Belleville a couple days ago, is returned, and Matt Sogard goes down back to the AHL. Essentially, they really wanted Merilainen to get some playing time with Allmark carrying the workload. He's only had 1 game so far in the NHL this season, and it wasn't a great outing. I think they're kind of wondering if maybe his lackluster play is just from lack of reps. So he went down to the minors. He played 2 games in 2 days. The first one was a little shaky, but the second one was really good. And they recalled him, so he was backing up Allmark in their game against the Flyers tonight, where they picked a much-needed 2-1 victory. Dan Vladar for the Flyers was really good. The Senators outshot them, outplayed them, but Vladar kept it close, and they got some depth scoring was also, which is something they've needed, getting goals from Amadio and Lexell. Lexell scoring against his old team, the Philadelphia Flyers. The Edmonton Oilers today retroactively placed Kasperi Kapanen to injured reserve. As I mentioned the other day, it's expected he's going to miss several weeks. The Dallas Stars confirmed Matt Duchene is going to miss a little bit of time. He's considered day-to-day. The Buffalo Sabres have recalled Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen from his conditioning stint in the American Hockey League. He only played one game. I'm a little surprised. I thought he might be there a little bit longer, but he's back to the Sabres. The Carolina Hurricanes, who are playing the Avalanche tonight in the Nordiques versus Whalers game. Jerseys looked great on both sides. I was loving watching a little bit of that earlier. The Carolina Hurricanes recalled defenseman Joel Nystrom. Utah recalled veteran forward Kevin Rooney. The Calgary Flames today recalled Dryden Hunt. The Sharks have activated defenseman Timothy Liljegren. They are expected to try to probably move a D or two here soon. They've got like 8 active D, I think, on their roster. It's kind of crazy. And not to mention guys in the minors that can play. Vegas also officially put Mark Stone on long-term injury reserve. I've seen lots of jokes about this here today. The Stone to LTIR stuff. But you got to remember, this is not going to be the same as how things have played out in the past. A couple of reasons why. One, Mark Stone is most definitely going to be on Team Canada provided he's healthy. His injury is not expected to be more than 3 to 4 weeks. So, he had a hot start to the season. And it's also, he's already missed some time, so it's retroactive to when he first got hurt. So he's probably looking at missing 3.5 weeks beyond that, which really isn't all that unreasonable. And it gives them some cap relief in the short term here. But they're only getting $3.8 million of cap relief, not the full contract. And with it being Olympic year, he's not going out early this year. So I understand the jokes. It's happened numerous times. He seems to get hurt a lot. But this is not an LTIR ploy, that's for sure. And the Canucks are welcoming back Brock Besser as well. He's back with the Canucks after being away for personal reasons for a few days. As I mentioned as well, longtime Maple Leaf team president Brendan Shanahan, of course, also had a very long playing career, also worked in the NHL executive offices before joining the Maple Leafs, has been out of work for a little while, but he's back. But he's back not with a team, but with the NHL itself in league offices. He's now back working with the Department of NHL Hockey Operations. So Darren Dreger reported on this on Insider Trading tonight, that Shanahan is going back to his roots working for the league, but he's very much interested in getting back to being what he was with the Leafs, likely a team president. So if we do see any teams that make any changes at the very top of the pecking order, that don't expect or don't be surprised, to hear Shanahan's name come up as a candidate. It's very quite likely that we're going to hear that. Now, of course, he's been around a long time. It's not a money issue. It's not he can be picky here, right? So, he's had a long, successful career. Doesn't really need to work if he doesn't want to. So I would suspect Shanahan will kind of wait for the right opportunity. I know with the league offices and where he had a home in New York, I would suspect if something came up in that area close to home, would probably be preferable, but we really don't know. All Dreger kind of mentioned was that essentially Shanahan's back to work for the NHL and that he will very much be a candidate and be interested to join a team in a similar role that he had with the Leafs when one comes available. So we'll have to wait and see how everything goes in that front. Now, a bunch of rumors, a lot of which is kind of surrounded around the Canucks. First, I want to take a look at some comments from NHL insider Frank Saravalli regarding number one center in the Canucks organization, Elias Pettersson, or as we call him sometimes, EP40. He's not having a great start to the season. He had a few good moments. A couple of games he looked better than others. But generally speaking, I think it's fair to say that Pettersson's performance this year is a bit lackluster. And if you date back to last year, wasn't great. And even part of the year before that wasn't great. It's been a while since we've seen the dominant Pettersson be around a 100-point player and playing at that level. So obviously he's got a big contract, lots of term. And I think it's fair to say that there's definitely lots of concern on Vancouver's part. If he can find that gear again, get back to being that player. I don't think he forgot how to play hockey or anything. You got to wonder what's going on with him. Is it more between the ears? You got to think maybe it is. I'm not sure, but Saravalli was talking about whether or not Pettersson could be traded. And I think at this point, the Canucks are probably regretting the fact that they didn't make a move sooner. They definitely bet on the wrong guy. I think we already know that. But he doesn't think that Pettersson can be traded because he doesn't think anybody's going to touch that contract. And that's a really tough argument to go against. Really, if you're a team, that would want to bring in a superstar top 6 centerman, are you looking to a guy like Pettersson making like $11 million who's not performing and you've got that contract for several years? I highly doubt it. If anything, Frank Saravalli said it was more likely that the Canucks consider buying him out next summer if things don't improve and if his play continues on for the whole season like we've seen so far. Now, there's still early. There's lots of time for Pettersson to get things turned around. But they're already without Filipino, already without Teddy Bluger, and their top centerman's not playing anywhere near it. His 5-on-5 time is down. His production is down. He's just I don't know how to describe what's going on with him. Like, it's been an extended time. Like, this is not new. This is not a short stretch. This is not a bad luck streak. This is a long stretch of just lackluster hockey from on a very rich contract with a very talented player. He's proven he's talented, but where is that talent hiding? How does it come back out? Everybody thought it was JT Miller and that uncomfortableness that he had. Well, Miller's been gone for a while, and his game hasn't picked back up. He had a good summer to train, and apparently there were some changes made, and he had a good summer. He got married. Like, there's lots of happiness and positive things going on. He was healthy, and yet he comes into camp, and this is how he plays. Like, it's got to be frustrating for the team. I'm sure it's frustrating for the fan base. But realistically, is there any chance they buy him out? I don't know that they can really afford to. Now, I looked at this before, and I believe we talked about it maybe a week or two ago. And Pettersson's contract, the way it's laid out, they would save big money for about 3 years. But then the final, then you'd have the next 3 years after that, it's big cap hits. So it'd be a similar situation like we saw with Minnesota when they got rid of Parise and Suter. They had a benefit for the first little bit, and then it got really bad, and then you have a bunch of years added on because it's 2/3 of the money over twice the period of time. They would be tied to that contract for way longer than they are now. And yes, the additional years, the cap hit wouldn't be big, and the cap's going to go up a lot between now and the time that would kick in. But that is just crazy. So do you think there's any chance that Pettersson can get bought out, as Saravalli says? I don't know that he really thinks it's going to happen. I just think that they're in a predicament where they got to do something if they can figure it out. And it's pretty bad, though, when you think that a buyout is more likely than a trade. And nobody wants to touch that contract on a 10-foot pole. So we'll see what happens. Now, some other Canuck-related rumors. The Vancouver Province and writer Ben Kuzma is reporting that he thinks that the Vancouver Canucks, to address their issue at center, should be talking to Flames about captain Michael Backlund. The Flames have had a bad start to the season. They've got some interesting veterans that could be moved. We'll see. Backlund would make sense for the Canucks. He's not a number one. He's a 2-3, depending on how strong the team is. But I don't know if I completely concur with that. And secondly, some of the veterans are going to stay in Calgary and ride it out. And they're just happy to be there, and they want to be a Flame. And I think Backlund's one of them. I don't know that Michael Backlund really wants to be traded. So as much as I don't disagree that he's a veteran guy, brings leadership, he can still play. There's things to like about his game, but I don't know that he's the answer. I don't think he wants to leave Calgary. Now, would a guy like Kadri, if Kadri became available, that's a different story. I think there'd be a lot of teams interested in Kadri. Now, Dave Pagnotta was reporting that some of the names that the Canucks could still be looking at, which they were made available before, were a couple of Bruins and Pavel Zacha and Casey Middlestat. Now, the belief was with Middlestat, they might be a little bit less likely to move him because they kind of wanted to wait and see how his season went. Zacha, they took a lot of calls on last year, so it's obviously not, a foregone conclusion that they won't trade him. I think with everything that the Bruins are going through, they've been okay this year, but I still think long term we're going to see the Bruins, near the bottom of their division and be a lottery team. So trading Zacha to me makes sense. There's a lot of upside, I think, with him in Vancouver, kind of insulating that top 6. But they need Pettersson. If Pettersson's not going, I don't care who they bring in, the team's not going to really improve a whole lot. But Zacha and Middlestat out of Boston for Vancouver targets do make sense. We know they previously were being available. The belief is that they could still be had for the right price, and we will see where it goes. Now, Columbus Blue Jackets young forward Yegor Chinakhov, we know, asked for a trade last year in the summertime. Never happened. Goes back to training camp. We kind of thought, based on what we heard, maybe him and Coach Dean Evison kind of, smooth things over. Maybe he was feeling better about being there. But no, he seemed to put on a brave face, smile and nod and get, whatever. But he technically never rescinded that trade request. And now we've seen him, again, be a scratch on occasion. And there's still belief that there's a lot of chatter around him for potential trade. When he first played this year, there was over 20 scouts showed up. Now, according to the insider trading segment on TSN, there's about 5 teams that they can honestly say that are linked to this guy based on the activity we've seen, watching him at games and conversations that have been kind of, bantered about around the league. That includes the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Detroit Red Wings, Calgary Flames, Buffalo Sabres, and Florida Panthers. Now, the Panthers have a lot of injuries. Obviously they're looking for some cheaper contracts, so I can understand that. Calgary is looking to, and Buffalo too, are looking for players to kind of supplement their forward groups and looking for some long-term solutions where they're kind of trying to build themselves back up. And then, of course, the Red Wings, I don't think they're completely sold on their mix. So they had a good start to the season, but now they've lost a couple games. I don't know. We'll see how the Red Wings do. They got, like I said, a shellacking tonight from the Islanders, but Talbot had a rough night between the pipes for sure. Gibson hasn't been good. I'm not completely sold on the Red Wings being a top Atlantic team. A lot of teams in that division have started slow. The Lightning have 1 win in 7 or 8 games. They have 1 win on the season. The Bruins have had an okay season, but they're slow and they've had some slow games. The Sabres had a bad start, won a few, but then they've lost a few. And then we've seen the Panthers had a hot start, but now they've lost, I think it was 3 or 4. The Sens have had a shaky start. The Red Wings and had a hot start, but have cooled off a little bit. Montreal's had a hot start. They're losing to the Oilers tonight, but otherwise they've been pretty good. Nobody's running away with it. All it's going to take is a short winning streak to get yourselves in a good spot. It's just a matter if you can stay there, considering how tight everything is right now. So we'll see. The Red Wings and Leafs. Now the Leafs, on the other hand, we know they're still looking for a better mix in their top 6. Craig Berube changed the lines a lot. There's been a lot of questions about what is the identity of this team. For them to find a top 6 forward, I can see them, is Chinakhov going to be the answer? The answer, I think, at best here is maybe. He doesn't have enough history to really say for sure that he's going to be the solution, but I could see where they might give it a try. Obviously the Leafs are, like I said, a team that's, I think it's fair to say they're struggling a little bit with their identity, trying to get some balance here. I know they've moved the lines around again. So getting a guy like Chinakhov in there, it would not hurt. It adds an extra scoring player. Do they offer a guy like Nick Robertson? Would that be 2 players who kind of want a fresh start getting moved for each other? That's something I could see. And I'm pretty sure we've mentioned that before. So we'll see what happens. But the Leafs, Red Wings, Flames, Panthers, and Sabres apparently all to some degree have interest in young Chinakhov with the Blue Jackets. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.